Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon trading card game video. What we have today is the second Mega EX Pokemon that we'll be taking a look at from the Ancient Origins set, the Mega Sceptile EX. Personally, I think that this is probably the Mega Pokemon with the most competitive potential. I mean, even its previous evolution has some very solid attacks, and I feel like it does merit a deck of its own, so I probably will be taking a look at such a deck in the near future. But anyways, getting back to the Mega Sceptile EX, its Jagged Saber attack is very energetically efficient. We only require 2 energy cards to be able to make use of it. Hits for 100 damage and allows us to attach up to 2 grass energy cards from our hand to potentially 2 of our bench Pokemon or to a single one of our bench Pokemon, depending on who exactly would like to attach it. And whenever we attach any grass energy cards to one of our bench Pokemon in this manner, we are able to heal all damage counters from that Pokemon. So Mega Sceptile EX is definitely not a force that you guys want to mess with, especially given the fact that it's just a very hard-hitting and very quick Pokemon. So the Mega Sceptile EX also has the Theta Stop ability, which prevents all effects of our opponent's Pokemon's abilities done to this Pokemon. So it's definitely kind of a nice ability. I mean, it will give us immunity to a lot of things such as poison, for example, if we were facing a Quillfish. Just really nice. I mean, I'm sure you guys have probably been hearing a lot or seeing the Shift Tree decks. Mega Sceptile EX is immune to those effects, and also given the fact that we will be running a total of 4 copies of the the Forest of Giant Plants, it's kind of nice because once we do bring out that Mega Sceptile EX, then pretty much those Shift Tree decks ultimately will lose the game. We're also running a fair number of Pokemon, but again, keep in mind that this is part of the standard format, so if you guys were actually running an expanded deck, I'm sure a lot of the deck layout that we have here would be much more different, especially again given how rampant those Shift Tree decks seem to be at the moment. So Forest of Giant Plants is just an exceptional Stadium card, allows us to evolve our grass type Pokemon during the first turn that we laid it down at play. So this is a game breaking sort of mechanic, and I feel like we're going to see a tremendous rise in the number of grass type Pokemon. This also opens up a unique possibility for us to make use of the Mega Heracross EX, a Pokemon that we don't really see a whole lot of just because it doesn't have a Spirit Link. But with the Forest of Giant Plants, we will still have to give up a turn whenever we do bring out those Mega Heracross EXs, but Mega Heracross EX starts to look like a much more appealing Pokemon. So Mega Heracross EX can pretty much perform a one-hit knockout on any non-Mega EX Pokemon, which is definitely kind of nice, including the Wailord EX, just because we do have the type advantage here. So Mega Heracross EX is quite nice. Ideally, it's the attacker that we would like to repeatedly make use of because it can hit for those big knockouts. But keep in mind that this attack does 10 less damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of synergy here with the Mega Heracross EX and the Mega Sceptile EX, because the Mega Sceptile EX can repeatedly heal it through the usage of its Jagged Saber attack. So Mega Heracross EX definitely not a Pokemon that, again, you guys would really want to mess with, just because it is so powerful in combination with the Mega Sceptile EX. Sceptile EX is also another very solid Pokemon, and surprisingly so is the Heracross EX. The Sceptile EX has both the Sleep Poison and the Unseen Claw attack. Sleep Poison we're probably not going to be making use of a whole lot. I mean, it's not exactly the greatest attack, only hits for 10 damage, and then we flip a coin. We could potentially put our opponent's active Pokemon in a sleep and poisoned state, which would then allow the Unseen Claw attack to hit for up to 130 damage. So it hits for initially 60 damage and then an additional 70 damage if our opponent's active Pokemon is inflicted by any sort of special condition. So just because of that, I decided to run a 1-1 Spinarak Ariados line. Now, in a purely Sceptile EX based deck, which I definitely do think I will be taking a look at in the near future, we would definitely be running a lot more Ariadoses, but in our case, since we'd like to have the Mega Heracross EX as sort of one of our main attackers and the Mega Sceptile EX, I mean, that Poisonous Nest isn't really going to come in handy all that much, just because the Mega Heracross EX can pretty much knock out the bulk of EX Pokemon that we will be encountering in a single attack, and Jagged Saber is quite powerful as well. So we have restricted ourselves to a single Ariados this time around. It has the impound attack, not exactly all that great. We'll definitely be keeping it during our in our bench, and then just repeatedly making use of the Poisonous Nest ability. Heracross EX, Another Pokemon that we have in our deck, guys, has both the Guard Press and the Giga Power attack. Giga Power can be kind of nice, can allow us to hit for up to 120 damage. But by doing so, Heracross EX inflicts itself with a little bit of damage, so it's kind of a counterintuitive to that Mega Heracross EX, which we are running in our deck. But nonetheless, Heracross EX has some pretty solid attacks. Guard Press allows us to hit for 40 damage. Not all that great whenever we do compare it to that Sceptile EX and the Mega Sceptile EX, but we do have some insulation, so we would be able to reduce any of our opponent's attacks by 20 damage, so it's not too bad. And the very last Pokemon that I want to discuss, guys, is going to be the Virizion, which has two different attacks. One is the Bailout attack, which can be kind of useful in case we get any of those Mega Pokemon or the non-Mega versions of them in our discard pile. Bailout can allow us to put two of them back into our hand. And then we have Price Count, in that if we are losing the game, that Virizion can hit for 120 damage for 2 energy cards. Not to mention the fact that it has 110 HP, which is by no means bad. So yeah, so the Virizion is definitely a nice Pokemon, especially if we are losing the game, and especially if we are facing a what's it called, the Seismitoad EX next, because Seismitoad EX would get knocked out in a single attack, just 2 energy cards required, so that is powerful. We are running a single copy of the Virizion in our deck. Now, discussing some of the remaining cards in our deck. Now, Mega Sceptile EX is most efficient when we always have some grass energy cards in our hand, so just to try and increase the likelihood that we will always have some in our hand, I've decided to run a single copy of the Energy Retrieval. So if we have 2 basic energy cards from our discard pile, we can go right ahead and put those back into our hand. Same with the Professor's Letter, just so that we can fetch out 2 basic energy cards, which of course are going to be the grass energies from our deck, and put them into our hand. Again, just increasing the likelihood that the Jagged Saber attack will allow us to heal off some damage, and of course provide a little bit of energy acceleration. We've also got 2 Mega Turbos, but Mega Turbo will bypass the special ability, will bypass the Jagged Saber's abilities, which of course only work if we have grass energy cards in our hand, but nonetheless it can be kind of nice, especially if we want to bring out a Mega Heracross EX, so we are running 2 copies of this in our deck. We also have a Switch and an Escape Rope, which you guys of course are familiar with what they do. I've also included a single copy of the Hex Maniac in our deck, so this will prevent all Pokemon special abilities in play. Again, just can be useful once again with respects to taking care of any safeguard Pokemon, potentially Beautifly, which we may encounter, and of course the Giratina EX, since the bulk of our attackers are going to be those Mega EX Pokemon. So Hex Maniac I felt like was a nice card to include, so we are running a single copy of that, and I feel like those are really the cards that need discussing, so I'm going to be going through the remainder of our cards relatively quickly. We are running a total of 4 copies of the Ultra Ball to allow us to grab all of the Pokemon that we need. 3 VS Seekers to reuse any of our supporter cards, a single copy of the Ace Trainer, which again works somewhat like N. I'm not really sure right now if 2 or 1 would be the better number to go with, but I'm gonna stick with 1 this time around. 2 Lysanders to lure out any of the opponent's bench Pokemon, 4 Sycamores, and 4 Professor Birch's Observations for some draw support, and a total of 3 Sceptile Spirit Links. Wish I could include some for the Mega Heracross EX, but unfortunately it doesn't have any Spirit Links. So with that, guys, let's go and find ourselves an opponent and see what this Mega Sceptile EX is capable of. So should be an interesting battle, and yeah, so let's go and find ourselves an opponent, and again, really hoping that we I actually wanted to use the Mega Sceptile deck, not the Mega Tyranitar EX. You guys have already seen that in action, and if you haven't, be sure to check it out because it's a pretty cool deck. But there's quite a few different ways that Mega Tyranitar EX can be built as well, so you definitely have a lot of flexibility compared to what I ultimately decided to go with. Alright, so I'm gonna be facing these nuts Pokemon, which is kind of a funny name. I'm kind of surprised that I actually got through the sensors. And alright, so let's see, and I think the opponent's gonna be able to, yeah, so it looks like they're gonna be able to start off. They also had some fire type Pokemon, so we'll see how that goes. Those fire Pokemon could give us a bit of a difficult time, just because of course they would have the type advantage, and all of our grass Pokemon are of course weak to those fire attacks. So we're going to be starting off with the Sceptile EX. I think I may actually go with the Sycamore right away to get ourselves a brand new hand. And it looks like our opponent is going to start off with Ace Feel, which unfortunately doesn't happen to have the grass weakness. has steel type weakness instead, which is unfortunate for us because I always like to take advantage of those weaknesses whenever possible. Looks like the opponent is going to make use of the Pokemon fan club and look for 2 Pokemon to lay down in their bench. And okay, no, so it looks like we're actually going to see the opponent conceding the game. Definitely not what I expected so early on, but we'll find ourselves another opponent. Again, just unlocking more and more prizes, so that is kind of nice. So let's go and find ourselves an additional opponent, and hope that this time around they actually stick around long enough to put up a fight. And okay, so it looks like it's going to be a water deck this time around. So we should have the typing advantage for the most part, but then again, water Pokemon do sometimes have an array of different weaknesses, such as I've seen lightning weaknesses, and I've also seen, of course, steel weaknesses, as we just saw with this field. So it looks like this time around we're going to start off with the spin rack. Not exactly an ideal Pokemon to start with, especially since we're not really going to be using it as an attacker. And I'm definitely going to have to go off and start with the Sycamore to get ourselves a brand new hand. Luckily for us, though, that the Intensifying Burn would only hit that spin rack for 10 damage, given the fact that it is, of course, a non EX Pokemon. So let's go and lay down the Virizion as well. I'm going to hold off on the Forest of Giant Plants. Unfortunately, I don't have a Mega Sceptile EX in my hand. Let's go and attach a Grass Energy card to that Sceptile EX, and unfortunately, that's going to have to be how we end the turn once again. So we already have one Mega Heracross EX in our discard pile. May unfortunately have to Sycamore the other one as well. I'm really hoping that we have a Mega Heracross EX in our deck, but if we don't, that's okay, because Mega Sceptile EX is also another very powerful attacker for the most part. So shouldn't give us too difficult of a time, even if we can't really make use of those Mega Heracross EXs. So it looks like we're going to be seeing a Barboach coming out onto the opponent's bench. It does have the grass weakness this time around, but again, it also only has 50 HP, so it shouldn't be too difficult for us to really take care of it. So let's go and attach an additional grass energy card to that Sceptile EX. Quite unfortunate that we've already sent a couple of our grass energies into that discard pile, but that's definitely going to allow us to take advantage of that Mega Turbo. So let's go and Seeker for a Sycamore. Again, I'm hoping we still have one Mega Heracross EX remaining in our deck. And okay, so we have an Ultra Ball. I'm gonna go and use that to get rid of the Forest of Giant Plants and the Professor Birch's Observation. So let's actually go and bring out a Heracross EX and a Mega Heracross EX right away. So let's go and lay it down and then evolve. So yeah, so that Forest of Giant Plants is definitely a handy card. Definitely does give those grass type Pokemon a unusual edge that we haven't really seen in a lot of different types of decks. I definitely think Vespiquen is going to be an incredibly menacing and difficult Pokemon to deal with as well. Spinarak getting hit for 30 damage. I think I'm going to go and retreat it. And okay, so it looks like we have a switch card, so that is kind of nice. Let's go and bring out that Sceptile EX, attach a Grass Energy card onto that Mega Heracross EX. Let's go and use that VS Seeker, Professor Sycamore one more time, hoping that I get the Spirit Link and the Mega Sceptile EX, and awesome, looks like we're gonna get it. So we're gonna be able to get a little bit of Grass Acceleration because we do have one Grass Energy card in our hand. I could also poison our opponent's Pokemon in case I want to, and I think that's what I'm gonna go and do. So let's see if we have the Ariados in our deck, and awesome, looks like we do. So let's go and lay him down. Let's go and use that Jagged Saber. Oh, sorry, let's go and actually poison our opponent's Rayquaza EX first. Use that Jagged Saber, hit that Rayquaza EX for 100 damage, and attach that Grass Energy card onto that Mega Heracross EX. So one more energy card, and then that Mega Heracross EX can start hitting our opponents for lots and lots of damage using the Big Bang Horn attack. So yeah, so now we're just patiently waiting to see what the opponent does. I'm assuming we're going to see the Dragon Pulse hitting us for 120 damage, so that's definitely quite a lot. But all I need is a Grass Energy card in our hand, and then I can just heal off the damage from the Mega Sceptile EX. So once again, let's go and use that Sycamore for some new cards in our hand, and awesome. So things are going definitely very, very well for us right now. Let's go and use that Jagged Saber, hit for 100 damage, and then attach the Grass Energy card onto the okay, is it only bench Pokemon? Yeah, so it looks like it's actually bench Pokemon, so unfortunately I can't heal off the damage. I wasn't aware of that, so that is something you guys should definitely keep in mind, because again, that could potentially cause you to lose the game. So I guess what this means is that if we want to heal off the Mega Sceptile EXs with respects to bringing them back to full HP, we'll need another Mega Sceptile EX in our bench, and then we switch out, and then we use the Jagged Saber attack. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be able to win the game, hitting that Barboach for 200 damage, and that is going to be it. So let's go and find ourselves an additional opponent this time around. Just really unfortunate that our opponent did not have any bench Pokemon which they could make use of. And again, those rewards, I wish they could go a little bit faster, but we have unlocked ourselves one Roaring Skies pack. And let's go and find ourselves an additional opponent and hope that this time around they put a bit more of a challenge. So let's see. Alright, so lots of different types of Pokemon, and we're gonna go with the tails, and it looks like we're gonna get the heads, so the opponent will be able to decide which one of us he would like to go first, and it seems like they're going to go with themselves. Alright, so no Pokemon in our hand just yet. 2 Sceptile EXs and a Forest of Giant Plants, so we'll be able to bring out that Mega Sceptile EX right away. So that is definitely kind of nice. And let's see what the opponent decides to bring out as their own Pokemon. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be seeing the Lugia EX, so that is kind of cool, and we're also going to be seeing an unknown, so let's see what type of strategy our opponent is running. Lugia EX could be potentially very menacing, but we should hopefully be able to repeatedly heal off the bulk of the damage that it inflicts upon us, and given the fact that most of our Pokemon are very energetically efficient, the opponent may not really be able to take advantage of that Aero Ball attack all that much. So we are seeing some unknowns. They're going into the discard pile. Definitely a nice card to be used in combination with Vespiquen, but with a Lugia EX deck, I'm not really sure what our opponent has in stock for us. Alright, looks like we're going to be seeing a level ball. Potentially the opponent's going to grab onto another unknown. I'm not really sure. It's unknown to me what card they're going to be looking for. I'm sorry for these terrible puns. But yeah, so again, we're just patiently waiting to see what the opponent decides to grab into. It looks like it's going to be an Eevee. Just some unusual cards that we are seeing on our opponents, and not really sure what to expect right now. So a Water Energy card getting latched on, and the Lucky Helmet, definitely kind of a nice card with certain deck combinations. Looks like we're going to be seeing the N, so unfortunately no more Mega Sceptile EX in our hand. I'll definitely be making use of the Professor Birch's observation. And looks like we're also seeing a Combi and an additional unknown, but the opponent keeps sending him into the discard pile. I mean, if there's no really sort of strategy with that unknown, I'm not really sure why our opponent is running them in his deck, but we'll see. Alright, so it looks like we're going to be seeing an additional level ball. Okay, so yeah, so we're actually seeing the Combi, and yeah, so it's going to be evolving into the Vespiquen. Alright, so that actually makes a lot of sense. We're also seeing Flareon, so the opponent is going to take advantage of our type weakness. So alright, so it looks like the opponent is actually running a Vespiquen deck, not one that I have seen yet, so I'm definitely excited to see how well our opponent's deck is able to perform. Let's go and use that Professor Birch's observation, and awesome, looks like we're going to get a heads. Unfortunately, no Forest of Plants. I'm still not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I do have the Ultra Ball, but I mean, our opponent went first during the last turn, so I'm gonna hold off on that right now. Let's go and use Sleep Poison, hit that Lugia for 10 damage, and unfortunately we're going to flip a tail, so we're not going to be able to put the opponent's Pokemon under the sleep and poison condition, but we could potentially hit for a lot of damage during our next turn. I should be able to bring out the Mega Sceptile EX, and I'm not really sure what our opponent said. It's Mega Sceptile. I'm assuming that's Mega Sceptile. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure what our opponent is trying to say there. So we have seen a Vespiquen come out. So already 3 Pokemon in the opponent's discard pile, the Flareon as well. So that's going to allow that Vespiquen to be a fire type Pokemon as well. Not really sure why it's saying it's negative, because that's actually very much so a positive, because it's going to allow that Vespiquen to hit for ludicrous amounts of damage. So it looks like we're going to be seeing an additional Combi. Those level balls definitely work quite well with those with just grabbing to all of those low HP types of Pokemon. Alright, so let's go and attach a Grass Energy card onto that Sceptile EX. We're finally going to be able to bring out that Mega Sceptile EX, so let's go and use that Ultra Ball. I will be using the Sycamore during this turn as well, so let's bring out that first Mega Sceptile EX and lay it down. Let's go and use that Sycamore for some new cards in our hand. And I do have an Ultra Ball, so I'm actually going to go and use it to get rid of a Forest of Giant Plants. There we go. I need to get that name right. And switch. I don't really think we're gonna need the switch either, so let's go and get rid of that to bring ourselves out a Heracross EX. And then ultimately, hopefully, we can bring out that Mega Heracross EX. So let's go and use the Jagged Saber attack, hitting that Lugia EX for 100 damage, and then we're gonna go and attach 2 Grass Energy cards onto that Heracross EX. So let's go and attach that additional Grass Energy card onto that Heracross EX, and that is gonna be how we end our turn. So I don't think our Mega Sceptile EX should be losing its life during this turn unless we do see the Lugia EX retreating into that Vespi Queen again, because it is both a fire type and a lightning type at this point. So those type changes are definitely going to work in our opponent's favor. We haven't actually seen any double colorless energies come out just yet, so I'm really hoping our opponent's Vespi Queens can attack right away. So we're seeing an additional unknown. Yes, our opponent is doing a great job of just getting those Pokemon into that discard pile. Let's albeit it is a little slow at the moment. I mean, we've only seen 5 Pokemon in that discard pile right now, but nonetheless, that Vespi Queen could hit for 100 damage because it does have the type advantage on us. Not really sure if our opponent is running any battle compressors in their deck, or they're just really unlucky and not drawing into any of them. Lugia EX, I have to say though, definitely doesn't seem like it has a place in our opponent's Vespi Queen deck, but that is just my opinion. Because I mean, it's just a huge liability of a Pokemon, right? Giving up 2 prize cards for the opponent to be able to make use of it. And I do have the Mega Heracross EX, but if I do bring it out, it is going to end our turn. So you know what? I'm actually thinking I'm gonna get rid of that Mega Heracross EX right now. I mean, most of our opponent's Pokemon seem to have relatively low HP, so I don't think we're gonna really need to make use of that Mega Heracross EX all that much. So let's go and use that Sycamore to get some new cards in our hand. We have another Sceptile EX, which I will be bringing out into play. And we don't have any grass energy cards in our hand, so there's not going to be any sort of acceleration this time around. Let's go and use Jagged Saber to knock out the opponent's Lugia EX, and that will allow us to take our first 2 prize cards. So I'm not really sure who I'd like to bring out. Looks like the opponent's going to bring out the Jolteon. Again, we haven't seen any double colorless energies on those Vespi Queens, so I guess that is understandable. I feel like our opponent is probably lacking a lot of cards such as the Acrobikes, the Battle Compressors, and the Trainer's Mails, which of course would work quite well with that Vespi Queen. And I could definitely Lysander out that Vespi Queen, which I think is what I'm going to do, guys, because of course it is just a really menacing Pokemon at this point. Again, still no double colorless energies in our opponent's deck, so maybe they're just getting extremely unlucky with respects to drawing into any of them. Maybe some of them happen to be prized as well. Ace Trainer is going to reduce the number of cards in our hand to 2. I always thought it was 3. Yeah, so I mean, that definitely has to be a mistake on the Pokemon TCG. I mean, there's absolutely no reason why my hand should have been reduced to 2 cards as opposed to 3. I've also been hearing of issues with the N as well. So sometimes it's allowing people to draw into 7 cards. So it seems like some of the card mechanics are slightly broken at this point. So yes, I'm gonna go and Lysander out that Vespi Queen, and then let's go and use that Jagged Saber for 100 damage, 10 HP more than enough to knock out that Vespi Queen, and that will allow us to draw onto 1 more prize card. If we see that Jolteon come out again, and if the opponent is attaching an energy card onto that Vespi Queen, I'm simply gonna go and make use of that VS Seeker to Lysander it out once again. So definitely can't let those Vespi Queens be ready to attack us, because of course it has the Flareon backing it, and that would be more than enough damage to knock out our Pokemon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We see a total of 8 Pokemon in the opponent's discard pile. And okay, so no energy cards being attached during this turn at all. I'm gonna go and attach a grass energy card onto that Sceptile EX, and you know what, I think I'm gonna hold off on the Lysander right now. I'm actually gonna go and use that Professor Birch's observation and awesome E-heads one more time. Definitely getting quite lucky with respect to those flips. I have the Mega Turbo, but of course Mega Sceptile EX doesn't need any more energy cards, so let's go and temporarily lay down a Virizion as well. Again, I don't really think we're gonna need the Mega Heracross EX during this time, so let's go and use that Jagged Saber for 100 damage, and that will allow us to attach a Grass energy card onto that Sceptile EX. I'm going to hold off on the Heracross EX's energies for now, because I mean, that Mega Sceptile EX pretty much hits for just the right amount of damage to repeatedly knock out our opponent 90 HP Pokemon in a single attack. Alright, so we're finally going to be seeing a double colorless energy getting latched onto that Vespi Queen. I think our opponent regrets now bringing out that Jolteon, because I'm assuming they just drew into that double colors energy, and I mean, at this point it's unfortunately kind of too late for them to make a comeback. I mean, they still need 6 prize cards. Sure, they're able to take 2 prize cards per knockout, but still. And looks like our Mega Sceptile, sorry, the Sceptile EX is gonna get Lysandered out. But we have the Spirit Link. Okay, I wasn't actually aware that these Pokemon have absolutely no retreat cost. Okay, so it looks like that just happens to be the case for that Jolteon. Getting hit for 240 damage, that Vespi Queen is going to allow our opponent to draw onto their first 2 prize cards. So let's go and bring out that Mega Sceptile EX of ours. And okay, so we have a Grass Energy card. So I'm gonna go and attach the Sceptile Spirit link onto that Sceptile EX. Let's go and bring out another Mega Sceptile EX. Mega Turbo to look for a Grass Energy card and attach it to that benched Mega Sceptile EX, and I could retreat this Mega Sceptile EX and then heal it off. Well, actually, no, I can't, because then I wouldn't have any more Grass Energy cards in our hand. So I'm gonna go and attach the Grass Energy card onto that Mega Sceptile EX. I'm going to hold off on the Force of Giant Plants. I don't really think we need it at this point. Let's go and use that Professor Birch's Observation. Finally, we're going to get a Tails. And then let's go and use Jagged Saber for 100 damage. And that will allow us to take one more prize card. So I think this is going to be game, guys. I don't really foresee our opponent as really having a chance to make a comeback at this point. I mean, if he does bring out the Lugia EX, that would be kind of nice, because then we can't knock out their Pokemon in a single attack. But I have a feeling that our opponent is probably only running a single Lugia EX in their deck, and probably as sort of a backup Pokemon, which would make a little bit of sense. Looks like we're going to be seeing the Charon, allowing our opponent to draw onto 3 new cards and a Lightning Energy card, and I think this is going to be game, guys. Again, unless we do see some sort of EX Pokemon, yeah, so that is going to be it. So let's go and perform that final knockout on that EV, and that will allow us to take our last prize card. So for some reason we didn't draw into it, so it just seems to be some sort of weird issue. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also be sure to check out those other videos in the annotation, so you can either check out my previous video, which is the Mega Tyranitar EX, or a random video as well. And yeah, so that is going to be it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.